welcome to our first Broken podcast of 2024.
Yay.
The theme of today is going to be It's Okay to Be Alone.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really prevalent in January. Obviously, like you get that sort of doom feeling as a single person over Christmas.
Yeah.
But I think it sort of definitely weighs on you as you get into those like first few weeks of January, where everything's just a bit gloomy.
I think people, they try and isolate, don't they? You've had so much of a season of go and socialising lots that naturally you do want to hibernate. It's winter. You might want to be on your own a little bit more, but some people cope with being on their own more than others, I think. So some people, I think, you might want to be alone, but then I think with that comes like feeling of depression a little bit, or some people cope with being on their own more so than others. If you've gone from a season where you're really, really busy and then you have this period afterwards where you're on your own, obviously Christmas when everyone's together all the time, it's lovely. You can't sustain that all the time, can you? Your bank balance won't allow it. So you need to have periods where you're not doing as much, you're not socializing as much, because
and you overdo it at Christmas, don't you?
Anyway? Yeah, so you do need to.
It's like a natural equilibrium of how you would socialize.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you drop into a really big lull of pretty much no socialization. It's cold outside and it's dark, and you just sort of get those like winter blues, don't you? Which everybody kind of does.
Yeah,
but I feel like it highlights that when you're alone, it kind of highlights that a lot to you.
Yeah,
it highlights that loneliness feels very like surreal, doesn't it?
Yeah, if it's raining, it's dark and cold, and it's cold it's dark when you get when you leave for work in the morning, it's dark when you get home. Like you feel more alone than you would normally, that you can just walk out and go for a walk and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think the natural thing about it being a new year and new vibes and all this lot is that people start going to the gym more, or start doing things on their own because they need to just stay away from people and focus. So I think it ties in with New Year's resolutions, where people naturally will want to be on their own a little bit more in January, because I think sometimes people have not got that level of self-control, and they know that if they're around certain people, it's too easy for them to break the diet, break the goals, break the positive habits.
Yeah, that's like kind of forced isolation, really, isn't it? You're just deciding to focus on yourself.
But you have to, because you need to stick to your diet. And you need to, so it might be that you don't really want to be alone.
So looking at like it's okay to be alone. So I suppose that statement kind of for me, sometimes it feels like it can be a bit like derogatory, and in your face, like people, oh, it's okay that you feel that you're alone. It's totally okay. Get it from people that maybe don't that aren't alone themselves, or they're with somebody or with a partner. And
so you mean like being single?
Yeah, being single. And we know it's okay to be alone. We've been alone for a long time, on and off.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean. And we have our own ways of like coping with that, and we feel we're really independent. We're great.
We are now. I bet we were. But I wasn't great at being alone as a kid.
No, absolutely not.
I think I get a lot of different. So you can get it from the single point of view. You can also get it from separated families.
Yeah.
And that feeling of your house not feeling the same when your children aren't there, and kind of getting used to the fact that, oh, my kids aren't here, and need to get used to being on my own without my kids, and finding out what it is that I like to do, because you can become quite reliant on other people.
Yeah, you get a bit like you procrastinate a lot, I think, at that beginning stage when if you've been like us, for example, we've been married for a long time,
4 years in of being single.
Yeah, and then you get to that point where you're like, well, I haven't got anybody else in my house, another adult. I suppose that's hard, especially when you've got children. But yeah, it's almost like a cliff edge, isn't it? And it just feel very like you feel very alone at that point, I think, don't you? It must be like when a spouse maybe dies or something like that, and maybe for the older generation in that way. But you do feel very like, when a child leaves home, I suppose, it goes to uni, and it happens in the house all the time. So what's like your so when we reach that level, let's go back to the beginning, and we first got those horrible few stages of being alone, and it's really overwhelming, probably not in a great place anyway. What's your like survival guide?
So I think it's habit. I think it's learned behaviour. You've got used to your house being busy. You've got used to your house being noisy. You've got used to a person being there, and they're not. It could be, if it's a spouse, it could be that they send you a morning text message and that doesn't happen anymore. It could be that they do certain jobs around the house, and then when it comes to you having to do those things, it's like quite lonely. So I feel like you're trying to swap those old habits that are no longer there and create new habits to, you go into like a period of transition, I think, really, aren't you? So rather than getting into the habit of not doing, so like one of my things would be, if I was on my own and I was feeling alone, it would be to go and sit and just scroll through my phone and do like, you know, kind of self-sabotage situation where I'm doing something that's not actually healthy for me. So swapping that and doing something different. So bringing a friend to go and see them. I know this is not being alone. You're going, making contact to go and see someone. But I think, which is still good, but I think you need to also learn that it's okay to be on your own. If you're constantly trying to fill your time with other people, you're not getting used to the fact that there are going to be times when you're going to be on your own. So I know that some people really struggle last thing at night. Some people, you know, you find, or even in the day, you know, if you work from home and not got your kids in the day or something, like, you know, there's certain periods of time when you're on your own. And I think it's trying to use that time to discover yourself a little bit more again.
I think, so I think in that sort of situation for me, I think routine really helps. So maybe changing your routine, getting into a new routine, making sure you're trying to focus in on that, maybe making that a focus of your day or your week, so that you kind of know what's going to happen and you're not just sat in a void of nothingness, waiting for somebody else to contact you, or, you know, waiting to go out and socialize or whatever. You've got that sort of basis of a routine to try and get you into sort of the comfort of being on your own.
I know from growing up and at college and things, some people like, they couldn't go shopping on their own, they couldn't go to the gym on their own, like they just literally could not be on their own. They were so used to being, maybe it was to do with being in a full house, you know, with lots of people there. The idea of doing things alone was quite gut wrenching for
like
them.
Anxious, makes you anxious.
Whereas I've, over time, like it just as you're learning something, you're undoing an old habit, aren't you? I've actually really come to enjoy time on my own now. So having that peace and quiet where I can just have a little bit of headspace to think, whereas previously that time alone to think scared the life out of me, because my mind would race. I would think about all the possible things that could go wrong, or compare myself to other people that seemed to be really happy. And it was like a self-destructive thing. But now I embrace the quiet times because they don't come around that often for me. Really.
We do have busy lives, don't we? So when we have that time to ourselves, it is quite enjoyable, isn't it?
But then I know a lot of people, like saying the older generation, really struggle to be alone, but then don't want to ask for help, don't want to ask for people to come around because they feel like they're being a hindrance.
I think for the older generation, in general, that sort of loneliness is probably really magnified because they probably don't have all the friends around them like they used to. They don't have the option to just be mobile enough to just go out and feel confident enough to be out doing whatever they want. They might not be able to drive anymore, or like things like that. So I suppose that is really isolating, isn't it, when you sort of independence gets stripped back from you and you're alone. I think that must be really hard. But that's kind of like new mum sort of syndrome, isn't it? Like when you have a new child, whether you with a partner or I'm guessing without is really hard, but you do spend a lot of time just on your own.
And you know, for me, even that, and feeling alone, I think you can feel alone in a room full of people. I don't think you actually physically need to be on your own to feel alone.
Kind of have to be in the right headspace, don't you?
So like being a new mum and just thinking, oh God, I can't just go to the shop. Can't just go to the shop because I've got to carry all this stuff with me. And I used to get really anxious, especially being a new mum, thinking, oh, he's going to be sick, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, all this kind of worry and this anxiety that like spiraled around it. And then I just thought, oh, I can't do that.
So being alone can be a really positive thing. Some people choose to isolate and be alone at different periods of their life because they want to focus. Want to focus on a goal, on a dream of doing something, or just something that they really want to achieve. So like stepping back. So like stepping back and just spending that time with yourself so you can really focus on something.
Also be mindful of the kind of person that you are. Maybe you need to step back from people, environment, situations in order to fully focus. If you're a kind of person that, someone offers you, let's go out, let's do this, and you're the first, I mean, I am this person, but the first person to jump onto it and go, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. And then actually,
like once you start coughing, you can't stop.
And then actually, you're not fully committed to what it is that you want to do. So for me personally, I was getting into a bit of a rut with drinking. Not that I was an alcoholic or anything, but it was more so with certain groups of friends. I would very easily go out and drink, but I would just get too carried away. I would try and keep up with people that I could not keep up with.
Yeah.
And then I would feel awful the next day. And then what happened is my evening, which I had to myself because I didn't have my kids, I would go out with friends, and then the next day would be completely written off because I would be so hungover. So I got into a vicious cycle of doing that. So I, had a word with myself. And I needed to step back and just spend some time on my own, because I needed to learn that it was all right to be on my own. I needed to avoid the drinking for a period of time because it just wasn't actually helping my situation.
No, yeah.
I think if I'm being honest now, I was probably doing that as a means of escaping. So by doing that, I spent a few months staying in on a Friday night or a Saturday night. I'd have a bath, I'd cook myself some tea, I might have gone to the gym. And so I was completely on my own, and then I'd get up early and I'd go to the gym the next day. So it was all about really fueling my body, fueling my mind, deep rest, and trying to get through something that I was going through. So I think being on your own can actually be a very productive period of time.
Yeah, so it can be really transformative, can't it? You can really focus on yourself and what you want to achieve.
So I've worked with a few coaches over the last few years, and one of the big things that they say, it's like a catchphrase that I always hear them come out with, if you want to improve your life, just focus for the next 6 months, like focus on this. And basically you get up at this time and you go sleep at this time, and you set your intentions for the day, you block out your time, you're so committed, you this, you this, you this. You need to make sacrifices. If you want to get ahead in life, obviously this is a very big mantra, I don't mean it to sound like all of this, but these are the kind of things that the message that they sell. If you want to achieve in life, you need to be committed, you need to be strict with your time, and a lot of the training things that I've done, it's been like 3-day things where I've done where it's like, you're really, really stripping it back. It's a bit like that with diets as well, like you might do something really obscene for the first week, and then gradually after that you'll stick with some more healthier habits. But you might, I know loads of people that have done some sort of fasting, or they've done, really cutting back with diets, or going to the gym a ridiculous amount of times, with the idea being that if I go all in now and focus, then it'll drip feed and I'll be able to continue some of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you've got, that's kind of for like extreme focus, isn't it? So you've got like someone who's got like a really big goal, say you wanted to write a book or something like that, so you need that stringent sort of hibernation behavior. So you need to be able to just have that extreme time to focus, which is probably a luxury of a completely single person without children, I imagine. That's probably why you'd get that, or you had a really supportive partner, because we couldn't be in that position where you'd but
I think it can be a very productive use of your time.
I find it really, if I need to focus, or I don't know, maybe achieve or do something that I've wanted to do, that spending that time that we have alone in a really focused and structured way really supports what I need to do, and it focuses me. I find it hard to, sometimes really hard to focus on just doing one thing. So stringent routine is great for that, but it's not sustainable for me. I can't.
Absolutely not sustainable now. So I think it's being mindful, and especially So if you are going through something, whether it's some sort of mental health situation, whether it is that you're going through some sort of mental health situation, it might be that you need that time to isolate, to kind of fathom out why you're feeling, how you're feeling, and that alone, being alone with your thoughts, and that it's a safe space to be able to do that. And I think there's a lot of fear, isn't it? You know, a lot of people will say, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about that because it's a scary place. I've got to unbox things that are boxed for a reason. And that alone time gives space for that to come out. And I know lots of people that have told me that, oh, I can't meditate because I can't switch my mind off.
Yeah, I get like that though. I'm not a great meditator. I'm a wanderer. And one thing we did, like a little bit of mindfulness at work actually years ago when it wasn't really a thing. So one of the associates at work is a Buddhist, and he brought mindfulness sort of into I think it was when the first, is it 5 Ways to Wellbeing came out?
Oh yeah.
And it started to be sort of on the agenda for people in social care, so they needed to make way to support people's mental health. So it was like right at the forefront of that. And he started doing some mindfulness sessions with us. And one of the things when you do like a guided meditation, if you've never done one before, it's where you mainly do like you probably do a full body scan. So you'll go from your head to your toe, thinking about how it feels and the sensations in it, so that you can kind of switch off those inner thoughts or whatever.
And also realize where you're holding little
bits of tension. But one of the things he said during one of his guided meditation, well, he used to say it all the time, was which I still use today. So if I've got a really busy mind when I'm trying to settle or sleep or meditate, he used to use this analogy of a shopping cart at the top of a hill. So you put all your what you're thinking about in visually in your head into this. Some people can't do that, can they? Visualize stuff, but pop it into this shopping cart in your head and then push it down the hill so it's gone and it's away. And I use that all the time. So it's only just a really small little visualization, but it really like helps me. One of the things that when I'm struggling and I'm overthinking something and I can feel myself getting really anxious about whatever it is, but I need to focus on what's happening because it's consuming my mind, then I'll put it in the visual shopping basket and how do you push it down?
I think so. For me, my thing is tension and stress and holding a lot of stress in my body. And I think noise can sometimes do that to me, you know, living in a house with 2 kids and young kids. But I hold a lot of stress and tension in my shoulders. So one of the things that I was taught when you do a full body scan is to kind of tense and then release, tense and then release, so that you're accentuating how much you're holding that tension and then you're releasing it down. And then another one when things are just getting crazy, like normally first thing in the morning, getting them ready to go to school, last thing at night when I'm getting them ready to go to bed, I can feel my heart starting to race. I can feel my temper starting to rise because, you know, they're not doing what you want them to do and things like that. And one of the things that I really need to practice, and I do practice now, is to feel grounded. So the visualization of your feet on the ground and like roots growing underneath your feet can make you feel firmly rooted to the ground, because when you're in that anxious state and your mind's swirling with all these things and you're getting yourself really worked up, it's physically stepping back from the situation, not diving headfirst and trying to, you know, because I think the reason why we get so anxious as well is because we're trying to change something. You know, we're trying to make someone do something, like trying to make your child get out of the house or make your child go to sleep. And it's that urgency for something to happen. And I think for me personally, I have to take a step back, realize that I can't change somebody else, but I can control how I am feeling right in this moment. So those, whatever it is, whether it's taking a physical step back, one of the things I do is like a giant, really over accentuated deep breaths, like and I do it in front of the kids to show them, like, you know, I'm getting really quite cross. I need to calm myself down. And it's those strategies that then help you to be able to handle these difficult emotions that you've got.
So I'd like toolkit to not being alone, but dealing with the situation, the anxiety and the emotions, and the things that hinder us when we're alone, isn't it? So the things that prop up in that, and it's mainly, it is, apart from it being financial and those sorts of situations, which can be quite stressful when you're on your own, if you've gone from being in a two-partner relationship to being on your own. It's the feelings and emotions and the anxiety and stress that come with that, and the overthinking of thoughts about your previous situation and why you're in this situation, because those can be really overwhelming at first, isn't it? So it's like a toolkit for that. So meditation is great. So the coping strategies really for your little toolkit to dealing with those emotions of being alone, because those are what the overriding issues are, aren't they? The anxiety and the stress. So I've just started doing, which is what you bought me for Christmas and you do anyway, it's the journaling at night. So that really, it's what it supports routine, which is great for me because I don't really have an evening routine, but it also helps ground me, I suppose. Helps me, makes me think about how I feel and how the day's made me feel, just that specific day. And it asks just very generalized questions, and they're all different each day. And it gives you a bit of a affirmation, doesn't it, to say?
Yes, there's different ones. You can get different gratitude journals, you can get self-love journals, but I think whatever it is, it's just some form of journal. You can just have it on a notebook, write a few things that have happened that day that you're grateful for, so that you're trying to end the day with a positive spin. You don't have to do it in the evening, you could do it in the morning. What are you grateful for that you've woken up? You've woken up in the morning, maybe you've slept well, maybe you've got central heating on, maybe you've got a nice warm like blanket or dressing out. It's like, it can be the absolute smallest things, and that's helping people who are feeling alone and all the emotions that go with that to kind of tune into things that are good about their lives. Because I think sometimes when you're feeling alone, not just being alone, when you're feeling alone, that can obviously then go down a slippery slope where you can end up feeling quite depressed. So if you're able to have more positive habits when you are on your own, like a gratitude journal, not scrolling on social media, maybe reading a book instead. When you're preparing yourself. Not really making sense right now.
I think the journal for me is, like you say, it brings you back to that what was good about your day, like even if it's just a tiny thing, like sometimes you go to bed and you're so anxious, or you're pent up, or you're worried, or especially if you're in your own space and you're not used to just being, if you spent all day on your own and you sometimes you don't feel good about it. I think having that little point at night where you think, actually, what was good about my day? And it might just
you can find a few things.
It just be really something really simple, like, oh, I went for a little walk and that cheered me up, or I made a brew and that was really comforting, or I watched 5 minutes of something that I really liked, or read a bit of my book. And it also, I think, it tunes me into thinking about how I do spend my day. So I do want there to be something good in my day, like even if you're really anxious and stressed. So then it makes me think proactively forward, thinking if today was a bit completely rubbish and I couldn't really find anything, then there was 10 minutes here, there was an hour there where I could have done something that brought me a little bit of happiness, a little bit of joy, that I've missed because I've just been procrastinating about myself, and I've not been overly thinking about a situation that it doesn't make me feel good. So why am I then pursuing that? Why am I not? It makes me think, oh, tomorrow I'm going to try really hard to not overthink about that situation, because there's nothing I can do about it.
It's making you be more reflective. I think in the past, when I've been on my own and it's not been a positive experience, I've continued to fuel the negativity around it. Whereas by doing this journaling, or even if you don't write it down, spending a couple of minutes every morning and every evening just thinking about things that you feel grateful for, it's going to boost your mood. When you feel grateful, you can't feel angry.
Yeah, that's so true.
So if you're leaning into your emotions and thinking, when I'm alone, I don't like being alone because I feel sad. I don't, you're trying to switch that emotion by doing something that's going to bring you happiness. And I think with gratitude, by doing it, and I've done it for over 2 years now, I think, it makes me tune into more things throughout the day.
Yeah, definitely.
So it helps me to feel more present. It helps me to take note of my kids' faces when we're doing things together.
Yeah.
When I go out for a walk, I feel like I'm more observant and taking in the view, the colours, the sounds.
Yeah.
You know, even waking up in the morning and hearing the birds, just little things. I think it just helps you to feel more tuned in. And sometimes the feeling of being alone is that you feel very disconnected.
Yeah.
You feel disconnected from people, you might feel disconnected from yourself, whereas you can be alone, but yet still feel very connected to, you know, that self-awareness of what's going on, knowing that someone is at the other end of a phone, knowing that people are nearby you if you did need them.
It's finding those like that positive energy to bounce back at yourself, isn't it? So that might be people, that might be, but you might not be physically around people all the time. So we get a lot of sort of positivity and gratitude and sort of nicer feelings about being alone, because we use a lot of Instagram accounts or Facebook accounts that have positive vibes. So they give little positive quotes, or which is what we do with Broken. We have those little sort of leaks of positivity that and then because you're viewing that, obviously it's popping up then more and more on your social media. So when you do get that scroll time, it is filled with positive energy and positive things and things that make you feel better about yourself. So then you're taking that in and you're thinking, oh, you can wake up and you can be in the right mood, or you can feel a bit anxious about the day, but then sort of looking at those things and reading those quotes or reading those little 5 ways to feel better about yourself or whatever, just sort of makes you feel, oh, okay, yeah. And it's finding your people, isn't it? Like you find it's okay. Finding your people, you're kind of like bouncing about. Sort of the energy you're giving off is the energy that you're going to get back. So we spoke about this when we went to a sound bath this weekend. Like you get those energy vampires, you get those people that are like just predominantly negative, and I don't know why those people are like that.
It's a habit.
Yeah,
just learn
habits
to be like
themselves
that,
to be in a grumpy mood, or
they've learned that,
to always procrastinate about life and always be like, because we're very optimistic, positive people. So if something happens to one of us, I don't know, whatever, and it's something negative, there's always one of us within the group that will be like, well, obviously always one of us will be like
empathetic and understanding,
but then we always have that person that's going to be, well, that's happened, and now like this could happen, don't worry about it, and you know, think of all these other positive things that could happen, because we've got that energy on the same sort of level of energy as each other. So we've got that positive higher vibration that gives us that positive information and sort of reinvigoration back to ourselves, which is what you need when you're starting to surround yourself and build new relationships with people from being in a relationship, or maybe even in like a difficult friendship that you've come out of. You need to be finding the people that are right for you.
Also, I think there's a transitional phase, isn't there? So like throughout, when I separated with my husband, a lot of our friendship groups, I became friends with a lot of his friends' wives and girlfriends. So when we separated, that a lot of that stopped. So it was getting me used to spending time on my own, and gradually over time I've started going to the gym. I've met friends from going to the gym. I've kind of reconnected with old friends that I've had. I've connected with friends, the children's friends' parents from school, things like that. But that's not just come overnight.
No,
that's been a gradual thing. So I've had to learn to be okay with being by myself, because that's actually a really bold move, isn't it? To be able to move away from people that are not really
they're just not good for your mind.
Well, either they're not good for your mind, or it's not helping you move on. So it might be absolutely nothing to do with them at all, but it's just that you can't be involved in that situation anymore. So you might have to do that, or it could be that they're a negative impact, and you have to have that level of self-awareness to think, actually, is this, what's a good relationship, what's a good friendship, is this working for me? If it's not, then it's taking that step back and realizing you need some time on your own.
go and doing things that you like. So when you're kind of in a relationship or and you're with somebody else, and if that's over a long period of time, you kind of start to lose yourself a little bit. Oh, I did,
Absolutely, I
especially
did.
if you've been in that. I was in that relationship from being 15 up till being 31, 2. So that's a huge growth phase in your life. And if you're not developing, and I don't think I was developing the person I wanted to, I was slowly, but probably not at the rate I should have developed my personal life and the feeling, even like coping with emotions and things like that. Nothing ever came easy, and it wasn't progressive. So when I left that relationship, it's really difficult to know who you are as a person. You think I was a mother, and that kind of consumed my life. Obviously I had work, but it's getting that, well, what did I enjoy? What do I enjoy? What do I like doing? What would improve my life? So I love art. I love painting, drawing, doing things like that. So I started doing a bit of that. I started to go to the gym properly, which I'd never really done. And since I was younger, I used to go when I was younger, and then I hadn't done since I'd had children. But being in those spaces where you're doing something you enjoy, you're doing it for yourself, and you're going out of your comfort zone, you inevitably meet people that are on the same level as you and are into the same things, and have the same kind of values as yourself. You find you sort of hunt those people out. You don't necessarily do it on purpose. It just sort of happens to be a natural process. But then that starts with trying to get out of your comfort zone and doing those things on your own that you want to do and that you're going to enjoy, but that is really hard.
It's a scary place to be. I remember having some counselling, and the lady who was it was over the phone, and she was saying, so tell me a bit about you. And I reamed off, like, I'm a teacher, I'm a mum. She's like, but what do you know? Who are you?
And
I was like, wow. I don't really, do you know, it was a bit like
that would give me massive anxiety. I hate talking about it.
But that really was a bit like an eye-opener. And it's over the last 4 years, I've gradually built up this thing where I really understand who I am. I'm embracing all the things I love to do, like you know, feeling this creative flair that I'd not really realised since I was really young, when I used to get asked to write poems every now and again. So I'm loving doing that now. I used to love going to the gym, but I'd convinced myself that when I had kids, I didn't have the time. So and I think that was an excuse that I had in my head, that I didn't have the time. And to be able to start doing that again, I feel like it's almost finding your way back to a bit more of a childlike state. I think when you get older, things can become a little bit mundane, and you get caught up with day to day, you know, work, kids, boring things that you have to deal with. And actually, where are you making time for yourself? Where is the work-life balance?
Didn't we, about creativity just being stunted as you grow older, because it's not seen as something that you would actually actively participate in, because it's seen as a bit childish. But actually, that, I think, for both of us and for quite a lot of people that we know, that's such a good outlet for yourself, and it can be on your own. You can do it on your own because you want that focus of creativity. If you're painting, if you're drawing, if you're writing a poem, if you're writing a book, whatever you're going to do, having that like hour at night, or maybe just once a weekend, or whenever you feel like you need to have it, it's so mind-blowing. And you can start something like, well, especially me, I can start doing something like that, and I could be gone 4 or 5 hours just sat, and you look at the time and you're like, my goodness.
But it's embracing that, because that's different to what everybody else is doing.
So it's having that courage to be an individual. That's hard, isn't it?
It is.
Having that courage, and then to talk about it with other people. I got a message the other night off somebody on Instagram after I'd posted some quotes, and they were like, gosh, you're like the positive woman of Instagram. Obviously they don't know Alex, because that would be that would be Alex. But they were like, gosh, you just like, you're full of positive vibes. And I was like, well, I'm glad you feel like that. Like, that makes me feel better if you can just make someone feel a bit happier. Some people don't like that. Some people watch our Instagram and be like, oh gosh, she's at it again. I can't actually stand that.
But I think when I felt in a negative place and I've found positive things, that's helped me. It's actually raised my mood. It could go the other way, where you can constantly be behaving like you are really positive, and actually deep down you feel like you're not. So it's that whole checking in with yourself, self-awareness, isn't it? But yeah, going back to social media, I'm thinking, we've spoken about this before in a previous podcast, you know, the pros and cons of social media, and obviously we're using it in a really, really positive way, whether it's through promoting the podcast, whether it's, you know, art, you know, creating positive content. Saying I've got same storage as for. Are we playing?
It's oh no,
okay. So going back to social media, sorry, I'll start again. Going back to social media, we've talked about this on a previous podcast about pros and cons.
Yeah.
We're obviously using social media in a positive way, positive quotes, promoting the podcast, writing poems, art, whatever it is that we're choosing to do.
Yeah.
And because we are constantly looking at positive things, it's flagging up on our newsfeed. However, some people can do the complete opposite of that, can't they?
Yeah.
You can be looking at your phone first thing in the morning when you wake up. You can be looking at your phone last thing at night before you go to bed. So your mind's active. That blue light is having a negative impact, which is then fueling the fact that you're probably not going to sleep as well.
Put your phone on night mode.
But what I'm, you know, to me,
yeah.
that is detrimental, and also the content that you're looking at. So some people are looking at things that are not helping their mental health, and then are being reminded of it on a regular basis.
Yes, absolutely.
And social media, I think, is amazing, because even though you are alone, look at COVID, you could have felt, you know, you were extremely alone. You weren't seeing anyone really other than the people that you lived in your household with.
Yeah.
And the brilliant part of social media was the fact that you could speak to people absolutely everywhere, but it could also be used as a hindrance as well, for the fact that you could just be scrolling and not actually making yourself feel any better.
Yeah, get that. So it's like negative. It's like vibration, isn't it? Like we were talking about before. If you surround yourself with negative people, you're going to feel negative. You're going to feel down about yourself. You're going to question what you're doing and the impact it's having on your life. Same for social media. So if you're surrounding yourself with those negative images and negative thoughts, and that's what's going to feed your soul. So you're going to wake up not feeling great. You're going to wake up, you're going to look at other people and think, oh God, look at them. Yeah. When we all get that, but I think you see someone pushing themselves out of the comfort zone, and you just think, now I think, wow, that's amazing. Like, good for you. Like, sorry, you think good for you. And I find myself like commenting on like people I've not seen for like years and years, that are just literally Facebook friends that I've had were friends with at school, and I find myself commenting on, like late at night, commenting on like their posts because they've posted something that they're proud of, or they've done something. I find myself like commenting on these posts like, good for you, or so proud, or what, just because I don't care. I know they don't really know me, but I'm proud of them. I'm glad that they've done something. I would have never have done that. Absolutely. Like 3 years ago. I would have just been like, I feel like I think COVID as well has got so much to answer for independence, and the Zooms and the FaceTimes that you've had have got me. I used to hate things like that. So I'd hate looking at myself. I would have never have done this years ago. Because I'd hate looking at myself. I'd hate hearing my voice back. I just would have no confidence with it. But I think, so I just think it's got a lot to answer for in that way. It helped me massively to be able to give me the confidence to do things like this. I would have never have done a podcast and a video and listened to myself back and watched myself back in a million years. But now I think that sort of breakthrough into forced video calling might not work for everybody, and some people will still hate it, but it's given me so much more confidence in myself. It's made me feel better about my body, being on a camera, looking at my own face. It's given me that confidence to talk in that way. And I think it's maybe like forced me a little bit to talk more, because when you're on a call like that, it is one-on-one, you know, like someone's talking, you're replying, someone's talking, you're replying.
I think it comes down to confidence, don't you? Like my thing with when I started using going live and doing things like that, and even I couldn't even send a voice now. I'm the voice note queen now.
Bad,
But I remember joining, so I'd split up with my partner, or maybe I'd started a little bit before then. I'd joined this online business, And I started sending voice notes because other people were sending voice notes. So it was that, kind of talking about learning off people, or admiring people's confidence, and actually seeing someone else's confidence and thinking, oh gosh, they're really confident, they've gone live and they've done this and they've done this. And I remember the barrier of, oh, I've sent this voice note and I sound awful and it's this, but it was like getting through that terror barrier of, I've done it, I feel sick, I can't watch it. I remember the first time I did a live, I had my hand over the microphone the whole time so nobody could actually hear anything that I said. But it was overcoming that and this transformative journey. And by having that level of confidence, then it made me do more things. And now I feel like I constantly seek out things that do push me out of my comfort zone, because I know, yes, it might be a bit scary at first, but when you've overcome it and got through that, you feel so much better.
It pushed you to do so many other things. So even with like the going back to some sort of dating situation, like I was a serial dater. I can go on dates and chat to anybody, and now make those decisions straight away from that day that I don't want to see that person again, or I do want to see that person again, and I've got no qualms with sending them a message that says, look, I had a great time, however, it's not going to work, you're not for me. And I push myself into those situations, whereas 2 years ago, absolutely no way would I have, like just going on a date would absolutely, I mean, don't get me wrong, when I go I still get nervous,
but not as nervous as you did,
not as nervous as I should, and I know how to handle the situation. I don't go into it thinking this is going to be the love of my life or I'm going to be trapped forever. I go into it and I think I'm just meeting a friend, we'll have a nice chat, we'll have a nice conversation, and then if there's any vibes, then I'll deal with that afterwards. And if there isn't, I've got absolutely no plans with saying this isn't for me, but
this is over a period of time. That's come through confidence, that's come from doing things out of your comfort zone.
And it's come from being around people that are in similar situations. So people who do go on dates, I didn't really know anybody that went on dates. Like everybody I knew was married, or so nobody, and I never went on dates. I met my husband when I was with him. I met him when I was 15. So
it's that
I never
scary.
even had that. So going into that online dating world, which we've spoke about before, a massive subject, but
it's the unknown.
It's the unknown, and it's about you have to be a confident person, you have to build your confidence up with it, but ultimately you have to have confidence in yourself, otherwise you're going to end up in situations you're not comfortable with. It's going to fill you with dread and anxiety, you're never going to push yourself out there,
or you'll retreat back, well, you'll have done something that you comfort zone, really negative experience, and then you'll go, oh my god, I'm not doing that ever again.
Which has happened with us. We've had negative experiences with all sorts of stuff, and we've gone back and we've had those periods of time where we've been like, I just need to not date anymore, I need to not go out, I need to just find out, but we've got good at resetting like that, I think.
It doesn't take us as long to reset now, but it doesn't take us long to bounce back.
Being alone, you can push yourself too hard, so you can push yourself out there into doing everything and trying to fill that time which we spoke about, or filling that with experiences and thinking you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone all the time, and you need to try new things, and you need to be full on in the gym because you want to change your body or whatever you want to do, and it can become really like consuming. So, and we've all done it, and we do it occasionally, where we get to those points where we're not happy with how we feel inside, and you can feel it building up, and you can feel yourself getting anxious, you can feel yourself getting worried, you can feel like you're not on the path you want to be on, and it's about taking that time back and resetting, but it's knowing when to do it, and then it's learning your coping mechanisms for that as a single person.
But I think for any person, you can get yourself into a sticky situation when you're doing things because you think it's what you should be doing. It's this kind of, I should be in a relationship because everybody else is in one. I should be able to go and do something by myself. So you can get into a habit where, and I've done this, like pretending that you're okay, pretending that you've got all your ducks in a row, your life's in check, everything's fine. Whereas actually inside it's really not, and you can be doing things because you feel that you should be, and it's this negative, I should be doing this, I should be taking the kids to places. And I would do this frequently, where I would just do so much, like it get to the half-term holidays, I would plan something for every single day. I would be socializing so much that it would literally make me ill. So just made a note of a few reminders. Reminders for you. Number 6, just so we know, 6 reminders. Number 1, allow yourself moments of rest when it becomes too much. So that really leads into, I resonate with that so much. Number 2, celebrate progress no matter how small. So that leads in with our gratitude journal, our wins of the day. Number 3, your journey is unique. Don't compare to anybody else. Which, again, we talked about that with social media. Number 4, let go of what you can't control. Talked about that link with the anxiety, didn't we?
Yeah, that's huge. It's hard though.
Oh, huge. Yeah. Number 5, face fears with courage and growth follows. And number 6, take a moment to appreciate the beauty all around you. So I just think that really covers quite a lot of the things that we've spoken about in today's podcast.
Definitely resonates. Like we said, really, like it's a bit of it's finding your kind of toolkit, isn't it, for coping with how you want to live your life and deal with being alone.
Using it in a positive way, not feeling like you need. So a bit like, so as a mum, as a working mum, as a working single mum, you feel like there's never enough time.
Yeah.
You've always got so much to do. You've got household things to do, you've got work things to do, you've got things to do with the kids, and it can feel very consuming. So I've got that used to, by habit, being so busy all the time that when I do have moments of quiet, I feel like I need to fill my time.
Yeah.
So then, rather than just sitting and watching a series or reading a book or going for a walk or doing something on your own, I got into a really bad habit where I would just, because it was so used to it,
yeah,
I've got to do things, or I can't just sit here and waste my time.
Yeah.
I better get up and do the washing and paint all the house and, a little bit crazy. So it's thinking about how you're going to use that time you've got on your own.
Yeah.
Because you can be alone, but you can still not be mindful.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to plan, I think. Sometimes you don't. And when you get into a rhythm of your own life and you feel happy about what you're doing, you don't need plans. But
all the time.
But sometimes I think at the beginning of those situations where even if you've just been sometimes like we'll be like dating someone or something, and it won't be anything massively sedating.
And what's that?
Dating. Well, it's not dating, is it? Because like, what's happened in the past? Dating. Seeing someone, talking to somebody, and you kind of consume your time with that, and then that's over because we're in 2004 and nobody knows what they want anymore.
2004.
Yeah, 2024. Jesus, 2024. Nobody knows what they want anymore. And 2004. And then you found yourself consuming your time with talking to that person or texting that person or waiting for that morning text, waiting for that evening text, whatever it might be. And then when that's over, it can be a bit of a setback and you're like, oh, like you feel really down about yourself. And so I think when I get in those situations, or when I've had the kids for a really long time and then they go to the dads and I kind of forget what it's like, like it's been a school holiday or something and you've been consumed, and I've had them a lot, and suddenly they go to the dad's flat and they go on holiday for a week or something like that, which is very rare for them to go away for a full week without me. And then you get that sort of anxiety, like, oh my god, what am I going to do for all that time? So having a little bit of a plan sometimes forces me to think, even if it's not a plan like going out, just a plan around the house. I'm going to clean the kids' rooms. I'm going to sit and I'm going to do nothing, or I'm going to watch a film, or looking forward to watching a film, or looking forward to reading something. Having something to look forward to, even if it's small.
I think you get into it more, don't you? You actually come to look forward to it as opposed to dread it.
Yeah.
The kids went to the dad's for a few days just after Christmas, and so many people going, what you're not going to see them for 4 days, and what are you going to do? I was like, don't you worry about me.
I'll be fine.
I will be absolutely fine. I will find plenty of things to do. And I did, to the point that I probably needed to do a little bit less and calm down.
But that's the level of growth as well, isn't it? Because initially when that first started happening, you first started to lose that control of having your children all the time and them being with their dad. Obviously it's the dad, and but then their situation changes and they might get a partner, or they might take them somewhere, and you don't know that they're going there, and in your head you're like playing all these circumstances around in your head, and you're like,
I used to do that at the beginning. I don't do that anymore.
No, but that's the level of growth, isn't it? So but that's about learning to cope, have your coping mechanisms for them being alone, and it's about sort of trust and the process, really. Like it's not gone wrong so far. No. I feel okay.
Yeah. Well, look at you when your youngest was just going playing out, wasn't she?
Oh gosh, yeah.
And you were thinking, oh my gosh, like
thinking the worst. Yeah.
It is. You get used to it's that you're losing a little bit of control of the situation. You've not got full control of the situation, and that can cause quite a little bit of anxiety, can't it?
Yeah, it can. Yeah.
We went sledging yesterday, And my daughter, who's only 5, wanted to go down this huge slope by herself, and I was hesitating, thinking, but can I let go?
Yeah.
Can I actually let her do this?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, I think she'll be all right, but I don't know, it's a pretty steep hill. And she wants to, but so she was fine. But that was like a real, I do enjoy it when things like that happen, because that's not a mental, that's a physical. It's happening right in front of me now.
Yeah.
And then actually, you can learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
I did actually let go.
Yeah.
And let her go and do it myself, and she had to work it out. But there's that whole, as a parent, how much should I be getting involved in this situation? How much do I need to step back and let them experience these things for themselves?
And I think when you like have a separation when the children are young, like that lack of control is consuming, and it can take a lot of work when you're alone to kind of let that go and understand that that's a natural process, and that your children are going to be safe, but you have to give your trust to somebody else. And that's kind of just like being alone in general, isn't it? It's like, then you're alone, but then you want to think about seeing somebody else or dating, going back on the market, but then you've got to think about, it's not just you then, and you've got used to being on your own, and you've got to put your trust in somebody else and your faith in somebody else, and that's really difficult.
But it's also, it's a bit of self-care. It's being a little bit more selfish, because you've invested in your children, and the children are always going to be at the forefront of your mind, but that shouldn't be at the risk of you not even thinking about yourself at all.
Yeah.
I read this the other day, which I really liked. The question was, do you want to be a good mother? You need to take care of yourself. Run, cry, go to therapy, be alone, take a bubble bath, scream, get a babysitter, eat that cake, quit guilt, ride in your car with the radio blasting, have a glass of wine, get your nails done. Whatever needs to be done, do it. You need to be okay.
Yeah, and those little bits of like pampering are nice, aren't they? Like, I always find, well, we do it in a couple of different ways, don't we? We go to like sound baths and meditations and the gym. Yeah. But I had my lashes done and my nails done, and those, like, I would have never when I was married, I would have never spent my money on doing something like that for myself. But it's like taking that little bit of extra. Well, I want my nails done. I want to feel nice about myself. Like, it's not for anybody else. It's just for me. And learning to, obviously you have to watch your money and you have to budget, but learning to say yes to things that are just for you.
Yeah.
That's really difficult. That can be a difficult phase. Like, oh, feeling like, am I worthy of spending 20 quid on myself? Like, you can go to a shop, and if you've got children and you're a mother, you'll understand, you can find 5 outfits for your children in a sale, and you'll buy them and they'll cost 50 quid, and you'll see something for yourself which is like £8, and you'll be like, oh, that's too much.
Yeah. And even like things that don't need to cost money, just having a bath,
a
face mask on,
yeah,
washing your hair, just investing in a little bit of self-care, and then feeling a bit better about yourself.
Yeah, like a skincare routine. I've always done a bit of skincare, but having like an actual routine at night. So, and I found myself procrastinating about it a little bit. Some nights I'll get in bed and I'm like, oh God, I can't be getting up and doing it. Like, just leaning over there and picking up like a cleanser and putting it on my face for 2 seconds. It will take 5 minutes, but actually afterwards it makes me feel so much better. But that's like the gym. Like this week, I didn't have a car, so Alex was like, I'll pick you up and take you to the gym. And it was the first proper week back at the gym to do this specific class, and it's a tough class. And I was like, no, I don't want to go, like making every excuse. And I did it, and it was awful, don't get me wrong. Okay. But the end result was so rewarding. It was just so phenomenal. Just the feeling it gave me, and it forced me to then think about the rest of my week, and then think about and eating better, and which ultimately makes you feel better, and then doing your skincare, and it leads to like just that little tiny bit of self-care just pushes you, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's overcoming, it's getting through that barrier of, oh, I'm not going to do this because it's actually really going to hurt, or I'm not going to do this because, the gym situation.
Yeah,
it's getting through that threshold and not thinking about how I'm going to feel right now, is how I'm going to feel after I've done it.
That's what forces me to do it. Yes, that's what pushes yourself out of your comfort zone, doesn't it? When I've done that, I'll feel it'll be great, or it'll be amazing, but it's that it's like that quote on my phone, the magic you're what was it? The magic you're missing is in the work you're avoiding, or something like that. So the magic you're craving, or whatever it was, is in the work you're avoiding, which is very true. Like, I've got it on my screensaver because I think it just really resonates. It can be so small, or it can be so big.
And it's overcome it. It's getting through that. Getting out of the.
Sometimes I pick up my phone and I've just been procrastinating about something. I feel like that the magic I'm looking for, that's what it is. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. And I just think it resonates so much with me. Even the small things, the tiny things like tidying up, cleaning up just before the kids get in so that they don't feel like they're coming home to a messy home, things like that, to the bigger things like the big stuff like the podcast and us pushing ourselves to do better with it. Like nothing's going to work unless you actually do the work in the background. Nothing's going to get to anywhere you want it to be if you don't do the work.
But then you'd have looked, so obviously we started a new year now. This is the first podcast of 2024, and we had a meeting, didn't we? So we had a meeting last Friday.
Yeah.
Brainstorming. So we've brainstormed separately and we've done it together, and we needed to spend that time alone to kind of collect our thoughts, but make a plan.
Yeah.
You know, review what's happened in the last 6 months. How have we progressed within the podcast? What do we want for the next year? You can't really do that surrounded by people.
Yeah.
You do need to, yes, we've come together, but I think that we still needed that time separately.
Think about what we both separately
from it, and then see how they aligned afterwards. So what is it that you want? What is it that you're hopeful for? What does it mean for you? What's your vision? What are your goals? Like having that time. And there's something a little bit magical about just having pen and paper and having that free flowing. Let's just, even if it was not in the case of, so we've done it for the podcast. It could be, so I did it at the start of the year, thinking about, I just split a piece of paper in half. One side I put personal aspirations and the other side I put professional aspirations. So that time by myself just to think, right, what are all the things that I want to do this year? So it's a bit like a bucket list of things. What are the things that I want to achieve in my career, in my finances, in my training and development, things like that. And to write those down, I can't be around other people when I'm doing that. I need that quiet time. I often put quiet music on. It's about reflection. It's about tapping into your intuition. What is your gut telling you that you want? When do you feel really lit up? Who are you with? So like we've planned lots of festivals. We've planned lots of nights out, lots of meals out. We're not doing them all at once, but a vision of what are the kind of experiences that I want to have this year.
For someone who's alone, really. If you're looking for a bit of a starting point, and you're feeling your headspace is right to think about those things, that'd be great to, like you say, split a piece of paper up in half, or even just like write down, what do I want in my life? Like what do I want in my future? What do I see in my future? What are the things that you feel are unobtainable, but also the things that are small that could be obtainable or could lead to something? Like you want your vision and your dream of how you foresee your life to be a focus, I think.
Sometimes you can feel quite alone in a negative way when you're procrastinating about the future and the fear of the future, and what if this happens in a negative way, and what if this happens. So it's trying to retrain your brain to think of it in a positive way, and what about if this turns out well?
Yeah.
And what about if I meet an amazing person? What about if I get to go on this holiday and this really good experience? So it's trying to put a positive spin, because often when you are alone and you've got these negative, this negative mindset, that's because you've learned to have that negative mindset over a period of time. So you're undoing
that mindset. It's also good, I think, if there's something you really want to do, something you really want to achieve, but you're anxious about it, it might be good to do like pros and cons. So what's the worst that could happen in this situation? But also, what could I gain from this situation? What are the pros? What like, I really want to do this, so how do I feel the outcome is going to make me feel? Is it going to lead to other things? Is it going to push me out of my comfort zone to do different things that I do want to do and meet other people? And then you soon sort of weigh up and realize that those negative thoughts and feelings about it are actually massively overweight, but you bubble that up in your head, don't you? Make those negative feelings bigger.
You add weight to it each time you think about it, I think.
Yeah. And it becomes like a hindrance, doesn't it? A thorn in your side. It's there, and it's playing on your mind. Whereas if you sit down and physically write down the pros and the cons for most situations, you'll find a way out of it.
Yeah. I'm primary school teacher, so there's quite a lot of nice books. They are for children, but I think you can take a lot of it yourself. It's like we've got the Worry Monsters, the Colour Monsters.
What's that? The Fox and the Child or something like that?
The Fox, the Child and the Horse, or something like that. Yeah,
that's a really lovely book.
That's got lovely quotes in there. I love the huge bag of worries. So, you know, kind of this little boy, and you build up he's walking around, he's got this huge bag of worries and it follows him everywhere. And basically you get to the end of the story, and this old lady's helping him to get them out one at a time, and trying to help him sort these worries out. You know, these are for your parents, you don't need to worry about those.
Yeah.
These are worries from school. And one of the things that she said was, you know, you'll get some worries out and they don't like to see the light of day. And, you know, just by sharing this worry that you've got, then they've disappeared.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So, but I think they're really helpful for the kids, but also actually really helpful for you as well, to think about
that is so helpful, because you take on everybody's problems and responsibilities, don't you? And you think they think you're yours. They think that that problem is yours, and that reaction to that situation is yours. Like, it's like when somebody says something negative to you, and you take it on board, and you really feel like it's hurting you, and it's really made an impact on you. But actually, um, that's generally a reflection of how that person is feeling themselves. So I talk to the children a lot about this when they come home from school, and they're like, such a body said this, such a body said this, or this happened at school today. And you have to just take a step back with them and be like, that's awful. It's not a nice thing to say, but that person isn't feeling happy. They're not in a happy place. Like, their home life might not be great, or they might be going through something. And that's why they're lashing out and saying these things to you, because they feel bitter about your
it's a personal attack, though.
Yeah, well, obviously as a child you do, and it's hard to understand.
I have taken things as a personal attack as well. Someone said something and I think, oh my God, I've got that wrong.
Yeah,
it's okay.
and it's fine to be wrong.
No,
Like,
absolutely,
and it's fine to have those conversations with somebody when if those people aren't able to have those conversations and they just leave you with this jarred thought, you kind of have to step back and think, actually, that's not, if you can't do anything about it, it's out of your control, and it's just a reflection of how somebody else is feeling, and it's just a feeling that they've got about you, and you know that that feeling isn't how you feel or what you intended. Then but then that's the bag of worries, isn't it? Thinking about those problems and those situations and those feelings, and are they actually as bad as you think they're going to be? Would it be better if I spoke to somebody about it? And it always is better, like, a problem shared is a problem halved, isn't it? So
yeah, and asking for help.
Asking for help,
that's courage,
isn't
it? Just asking for help from someone.
Right, well, I think we've covered a lot of it's been a good conversation about being alone, and what that sort of, how to manage that if you're feeling down about it, what you can progress in, how you can change your attitude to it.
Also mentioned that, you know, if you are feeling incredibly alone, there are a lot of support groups out there. Me and Danielle are just chatting about our personal experiences and things that we found that help us, but there's a wide network of people, you know, and charities out there that can help to support you no matter what it is that you're going through. You know, I've had counselling before. There's no shame in talking about how it is that you're feeling that, but I know it's a really, really big thing to be able to do, and you can do it where it's completely confidential. You do it over the phone.
You do it anonymously, like the Samaritans are an anonymous charity where you can ring, and literally if you're not feeling yourself and you're feeling really down, you can ring and speak to them, and they'll give you advice on how you can deal with it, what groups you could. There's lots of local, like Mind have a lot of local bases, like in your local area, where you can go and speak to somebody. Or if you don't feel ready to speak to somebody, but you know that you don't feel right, they do a lot of things, like they do a lot of free therapies for you, so you can go and have like a bit of a massage, or you can go speak in a group, or you can go have a sound bath and think. They do all things like that that are just it's an activity. You're around people that are obviously not feeling anxious or feeling alone, and you can be in that space and share that space. And even if you don't want to share your feelings or thoughts, you can maybe listen to somebody else's and understand that other people are in similar situations, and it's okay to be in those situations. It's okay to talk about it. Or write it down, you know, like we said about journaling. Just get physically getting something out of your mind, even if it's on a piece of paper, helps you to sort of assess it a little bit and think, oh, I've got that, I've spoke about it.
I've used one of the things from cognitive behavioural therapy was to have worry time. So you might have worries that creep in throughout the day, and you can put them to one side for now and say, right, I'm going to think about those when it's my worry time. So you might slot a little bit of time in throughout the day. So it might be, say, I don't know, 4 o'clock, let's say 4 o'clock, you're going to give yourself 20 minutes. You're going to allow all the worries to come in. You're going to write them all down on a piece of paper. Choose what you want to do with that piece of paper. You could rip it up, you could burn it, but you're getting them all out. And I think I love the fact that you've written it all out. But then, like you do with a shopping cart, I'm not recommending that you push a shopping cart down a hill, but you know, ripping up that piece of paper, you've got them all out, and then get rid of them that way.
We all know ourselves, like you've had a bit of a couple of glasses of wine, you sat with the girls at night and you just want to get something off your chest, and as soon as you start speaking,
like verbal diarrhea,
you're just like, oh, just even though there's no resolution, no, probably wasn't any resolution that anybody can offer at that point, but it's just getting it out of the system. So if you need to speak to somebody, there's lots of things online. Give us a message, we can send you some details. Whatever you feel you need to do it for you. And get comfortable, push yourself out of your comfort zone, get comfortable with being alone, because once you've reached that level of comfort, you then sort of know what you want for the rest of your life. You can then sort of focus your time and your energy on what you need.
Absolutely. Final mention, I think, would just be that we've created a Facebook page now. So we've got a Broken Podcast Facebook page, and we've got our Broken Podcast on our Instagram account.
Yeah, we're also on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we're going to open a TikTok, which we'll be posting our little videos on as well. So find us on any social media base.
Yeah, follow us, share us with your friends.
Yeah, follow, get in touch. You've got questions you want to ask that we want us to discuss on the podcast, any topics, anything, just send us a chat. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening to our first episode of 2024, not 2004. And we will speak to you soon. Thanks. Speak to you soon.